Life can feel overwhelming sometimes. Maybe you're dealing with uncertainty at work, tension in your relationships, or fear about the future. It's easy to feel stuck, to think, I can't handle this. I've been there too. But here's the truth. God's power is not limited by your circumstances. It's bigger than fear, stronger than doubt, and more patient than time itself. Think about David from the Bible. He was just a young shepherd, facing Goliath, a giant who terrified an entire army. Everyone saw a battle that was impossible to win. But David saw something else. He saw God's power. With a simple sling, a few stones, and unwavering faith, he defeated the giant. That story isn't just about courage. It's about relying on God's power even when the odds are against you. And the amazing thing? That same power is available to you today. So, how can God's power change your life? Let's start with your heart and mind. When you open your heart to God, He begins to replace fear with peace, doubt with faith, and worry with hope. It doesn't mean problems disappear instantly, but you start to see your challenges differently. Your mind becomes calmer, your decisions wiser, and your perspective broader. You begin to notice opportunities you didn't see before. God's power also works through healing. Maybe you've been carrying emotional pain for years, hurt from past mistakes, broken relationships, or lost dreams. God's power can touch those wounds. It doesn't always erase the memory, but it brings comfort, forgiveness, and restoration. People who've experienced this describe it as a weight lifting off their shoulders, a peace settling in their hearts that nothing else could give. Next, consider how God's power transforms your circumstances. I know life isn't always fair. Sometimes we face obstacles that feel impossible. But when you trust in God, doors begin to open in unexpected ways. Opportunities appear where there seem to be none. Guidance comes when you feel lost. And sometimes, solutions arrive through people or situations you never imagined. It's like God's power has a way of turning the tide, even in the darkest moments. Prayer is one of the most powerful ways to access God's power. It's not just asking for things. It's connecting with the source of all strength and wisdom. When you pray with faith, you invite God into your challenges. You invite Him to guide your thoughts, direct your steps, and empower you to act in ways you couldn't on your own. Prayer doesn't always mean instant answers, but it does mean you're never alone, and it opens your life to possibilities beyond your imagination. Faith is the key that unlocks God's power in your life. Faith isn't about having all the answers or never feeling fear. Faith is about believing that God is bigger than your problems, that He is present, and that His plans for you are good. Even small faith, when placed in God's hands, can create extraordinary change. Think of the mustard seed story in the Bible. Tiny faith, but the potential to move mountains. Sometimes, God's power works through people around you. Maybe a friend reaches out at the exact right time, or someone gives you advice that changes your perspective. Maybe a stranger's kindness restores your hope. These are all ways God's power can flow into your life, through the actions of others. Keep your heart open, and you'll start noticing these moments more often. It's also important to remember that God's power changes your actions. When you trust Him, you begin to act with courage, patience, and love. You start making decisions that reflect hope rather than fear. You become a source of encouragement for others. And in a beautiful way, as you experience God's power, you also begin to share it with the world, lifting others as you are lifted. Now, let's think practically. How can you let God's power touch your life today? Start with a simple step. Take a few quiet minutes to pray or meditate on His presence. Invite Him into your challenges, your decisions, and your fears. Next, read His Word. Scriptures are full of reminders of His power and promises. Surround yourself with people who encourage your faith, not drain it. And finally, take action where you feel guided. Even small steps, when guided by God, can lead to big changes. I know sometimes life feels heavy, and it's tempting to feel powerless. But remember this. God's power is not limited by what you see or understand. It moves in ways you cannot always predict. It heals hearts, restores hope, and opens doors. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to earn it. It's a gift, ready for you to receive today. So today, my friend, I want to encourage you. Open your heart. Trust in God. Pray with hope. Step forward with faith. Look for the ways His power can move in your life, even in small ways. And watch as your life begins to change, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, but always for the better. God's power is alive, active, and reaching for you right now. You don't have to wait for a miracle. It starts with believing that He is working, even in the smallest moments. Remember David facing Goliath. God's power made the impossible possible. And that same power, the same God, is with you today. Take a deep breath. Let go of fear. Trust Him. And watch how your life begins to transform, moment by moment. God's power can change your life today if you let it. Thank you for listening, my friend. Take this message to heart and let God's power touch your life in ways you've never imagined. Life can feel unpredictable. Some days are joyful, some are challenging, and sometimes it feels like nothing is going your way. I know because I've been there too. But here's the amazing truth. God's power is available to you at this very moment, and it can guide your steps, calm your fears, and bring hope into every situation. The first step is recognition. Recognize that God is already present in your life. Often, we feel powerless because we forget that the same God who created the universe is with us. He sees your struggles, hears your prayers, and knows your heart. A simple act of acknowledging His presence can shift your perspective. When you say, God, I know you are with me, you are opening a door for His power to move. Next is faith in action. Faith isn't just believing with words, it's living with trust. It's choosing to step forward even when you don't see the full path. Think about the story of Peter walking on water. The moment he focused on Jesus, he walked on the stormy sea. But the moment he doubted, he began to sink. Faith activates God's power. It invites Him to work through you. Prayer is a powerful tool. But it's not just asking for things, it's a conversation. Share your fears, your hopes, your dreams with God. Ask for guidance, clarity, and strength. Even when the answer doesn't come immediately, God is working behind the scenes. He's aligning circumstances, nudging people, and preparing your heart to receive His best. God's power also works through renewing your mind. Negative thoughts, worries, and doubts can weigh us down. But when you meditate on God's promises, His power starts transforming your thoughts. For example, when you repeat verses like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, your mindset slowly changes from limitation to possibility. You begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles, and your decisions reflect hope rather than fear. One of the most practical ways to experience God's power is through obedience. When you follow His guidance, even in small matters, you open yourself to bigger blessings. Maybe it's forgiving someone who hurt you, helping someone in need, or speaking words of encouragement. These small acts, guided by God, release His power into your life and the lives of others. God's power can also be seen in healing and restoration. Emotional wounds, broken relationships, or old regrets can feel heavy. When you invite God into those places, He brings peace and restoration. You might not see instant change, but His power starts working quietly, reshaping hearts and restoring hope. People often describe it as feeling lighter, freer, and more capable of moving forward. Another way to experience God's power is through gratitude. When you focus on the blessings in your life, even the small ones, you shift your perspective from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude opens your heart to see God's work in every detail, from a kind word from a friend to a moment of peace in your day. And the more you recognize His work, the more you notice His power moving in ways you didn't expect. Community also matters. God's power often flows through people around you. Surround yourself with those who encourage your faith, lift your spirit, and remind you of God's goodness. Sometimes, God's guidance comes through the words, actions, or support of others. Keep your heart open to these moments. They are evidence of His power at work. Let's talk about daily habits that help you stay connected to God's power. Start your day with prayer or reflection, asking God to guide your steps. Read a passage from the Bible that inspires you. Take a moment to pause during stressful moments and ask God for calm. Write down moments where you notice His work. This practice trains your heart to see His power more clearly. Faith also grows when you step out of your comfort zone. God's power often shows up when we act courageously. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation, taking a leap of faith in your career, or trusting Him with something you've been holding back. Each time you step forward, even in fear, you invite God's power to work in ways you cannot imagine. Sometimes, experiencing God's power means waiting and trusting. Life doesn't always move on our schedule, but even in waiting, God is preparing the path, strengthening you, and aligning circumstances. The key is patience, trust, and keeping your heart open. Remember, God's timing is perfect, and His power is never limited by time. Let's not forget the power of speaking God's truth. The words you speak shape your reality. Speak with faith, hope, and encouragement, not doubt or fear. Say, God is with me. I am not alone, or I can overcome this with His help. Words carry power, and when combined with faith, they release God's power into your life. Finally, remember that God's power is not just for you, it's for others too. As you experience His guidance, strength, and peace, you become a vessel for His work in the world. Your actions, kindness, and love reflect His power to those around you. Helping someone in need, offering encouragement, or sharing your testimony can ripple into ways you never see. So, how can you experience God's power today? Start small.
Pray, believe, act.
Notice His work in the little things. Trust Him with your fears. Step forward in faith. And keep your heart open to miracles, big and small. My friend, God's power is real, it's present, and it's alive. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment, a big miracle, or dramatic change. You can experience it today in your thoughts, your decisions, your courage, and your peace. Let His power guide you, renew you, and fill your life with hope. Take a deep breath, trust Him, step forward, and watch as your life begins to change in ways only God can do. His power is here for you today. Embrace it, believe it, and let it transform your world. Thank you for taking this moment to hear these words. Open your heart, trust in God's power, and step into the life He has for you. Life can feel heavy sometimes. Maybe you're carrying worries about work, family, health, or the future. Maybe fear or doubt has been whispering in your ear for weeks, months, or even years. I want you to know this. You are not alone, and God's power is bigger than any struggle you face. I want to tell you a story. There was a woman I once knew. Let's call her Sarah. She felt stuck in life. Her dreams had faded, her relationships were strained, and she often felt hopeless. One day, she decided to pray sincerely, not just out of habit, but from her heart. She said, God, I need your help. Please guide me and give me strength. Within weeks, small changes started happening. Unexpected encouragement from a friend, doors opening at work, peace settling in her heart. Over time, those small changes became big ones, and Sarah realized that God's power had been moving in her life all along. She just needed to trust it. You see, God's power doesn't always show up in dramatic miracles. Sometimes it comes in quiet ways, in the peace you feel during a hard moment, in guidance that comes just when you need it, in hope that replaces despair. It can heal your heart, give clarity to your mind, and give courage to your actions. So, how can you experience this power in your life? Let's break it down. First, open your heart to God. A heart ready to receive His guidance is a heart ready to see change. You don't need to have all the answers or perfect faith, just a willingness to believe that God is with you. Next, invite God into your daily life. Talk to Him as if you were talking to a trusted friend. Share your worries, your dreams, your questions. Ask Him to guide your decisions and give you strength. Prayer is not just asking, it's a conversation, a connection, a way to tap into God's power. God's power also works through your actions. Have you ever noticed how doing something kind, even in a difficult situation, changes your perspective? Maybe it's forgiving someone, helping a stranger, or offering encouragement to a friend. These small acts, guided by God, release His power into your life and into the lives of others. Let's talk about faith. Faith is believing in God's power even when you cannot see the outcome. It's trusting Him when life seems uncertain. Remember the story of Peter walking on water? He walked because he focused on Jesus, not on the storm around him. That's what faith does. It directs your focus toward God, allowing His power to carry you even through life's storms. God's power can also heal emotional wounds. Maybe you're holding on to past regrets, mistakes, or heartbreak. When you invite God into those places, His power brings comfort, peace, and restoration. You might not see instant results, but over time, your heart becomes lighter, your perspective clearer, and hope is restored. Another way to experience God's power is through gratitude. Focusing on what you have rather than what you lack opens your heart to see God's work everywhere, in small blessings, in moments of joy, and even in challenges that teach you lessons. Gratitude transforms ordinary days into moments where God's power becomes visible. God's power also flows through community. Surround yourself with people who encourage your faith, lift your spirit, and remind you of God's goodness. Sometimes His guidance comes through others. The right word at the right time, a hand reaching out just when you need it. Stay open to these moments. They are God working through people to touch your life. Practical steps to experience God's power. Start your day with prayer or reflection. Invite God into your thoughts, decisions, and actions. Read a verse or passage from the Bible that inspires you. Let it guide your heart and mind. Act on what you feel guided to do, even in small ways. Trust that God is working through your actions. Keep a gratitude journal, noting moments where you notice His hand at work. Be patient and trust His timing. Not everything happens instantly, but His power is always at work. God's power is not only for you, it's for others. As you experience His guidance, strength, and peace, you naturally share it with the world. Your acts of kindness, words of encouragement, and faith can ripple into countless lives, creating changes you may never see, but God does. Finally, remember this. God's power is alive, present, and working for you today. You don't have to wait for a dramatic moment or a perfect miracle. Start by opening your heart, praying with intention, acting with faith, and noticing the small ways He works in your life. Take a deep breath, my friend. Let go of fear. Trust God's guidance. Step forward with faith and watch as your life transforms, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, but always according to His perfect plan. God's power is real, and it can change your life today. Thank you for taking these moments to listen. Keep your heart open, trust His presence, and let God's power guide every step of your journey.